Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sci-Fi Movie Guy. My name is Mike, and this is weekly show number 8. So we're going to start off as we always do with Star Wars news, but I'm going to start a little differently today. I want to do a bit of an editorial on something that's happened this week in Star Wars. So there was a huge leak. Making Star Wars broke the story, and they have an amazing track record of breaking spoilers for Star Wars. And so when I read this, I thought, oh my god, okay, I got to start writing my story right now, and I did. But then I watched Jedi Council, Collider Jedi Council on Thursday. That's Kristian show. And they did something different than everyone else. They told you where you could find the story on Making Star Wars, and it was also on StarWarsNews.net. But they didn't actually tell you the spoiler. They talked about it, that they had watched it, and it was really cool. And I thought that was really great of them because I am a loyal fan of Collider Jedi Council. So I like watching that show every Thursday religiously. And the journalistic integrity that they showed by not actually talking about the spoiler, telling the fans where it was so that they could make their decision, was really cool, I thought. And it taught me something about guys that do shows like this. I mean, mine's not even close to some of the big guys out there, and I'm just starting out. But it kind of taught me a lesson that you don't have to be the guy who tells the story. You can be the guy that tells people where to find the story. So this was really cool of Collider Jedi Council. So I'd like to just say kudos to Dennis Zeng and Kristian Harloff. They're the two head guys at Collider. Great job, guys. And I appreciated you giving me the choice of whether or not I wanted to find out about it. I did go find out about it. It was a great storyline. But this gets back to Lucasfilm now and Disney. I think that Star Wars Episode 8 set with Rian Johnson isn't as tight as J.J. Abrams was with Star Wars 7 The Force Awakens. And if this spoiler is true about Kylo Ren and Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill, then I'm going to be disappointed when I see the movie from an aspect that I didn't get surprised. Now, obviously, again, if this is true, it's a great storyline and I'm going to love watching it on the big screen. But I'd really like to see Disney tighten up the set a little bit, only release what they want us to see in the trailers. I like to be spoon-fed these things because I know you're not going to ruin the plot of the movie. And this is a huge plot reveal, this spoiler. Again, they have a great track record making Star Wars, so I tend to believe it, but I guess we'll see when the movie comes out in a year and a half. So that was my first story. Sorry about the editorial kind of thing, but I just wanted to give kudos to Collider again. So our next Star Wars story is, are we going to see Yoda in Episode 8? So the rumor has it that they're actually building sets that will handle puppets like they did on Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, where Frank Oz was running the puppet from behind the scenes, and you have to build a set very specially to do that kind of work. Now, I had reported in one of my other weekly shows that there was confirmed sightings of Frank Oz on the set of Star Wars 8, or just before they started filming, doing some voice tracks. So we kind of knew we were going to get Yoda. We didn't know if it would just be in another vision with his voice. But now with the talk of puppets, it looks like we're going to get Yoda in Episode 8 as a Force Ghost, which I'm extremely happy about. I think Yoda is going to play a major piece of the plot in Episode 8, helping Luke decide how to train Rey, maybe even convincing him to train Rey, because he might not want to train her after what happened with the Knights of Ren and his Jedi Academy. So that's our next story. Looks like Yoda will definitely be in Star Wars Episode 8. Now, the next story is Lawrence Kasdan, the famous writer for Star Wars. He did The Empire Strikes Back, among other things, is saying that the new Han Solo standalone film will be his last film that he writes the story for. He wants to focus more on directing, and you know what? Writing a story is hard. I've done a few stories in my day, and it is probably the toughest job when you're making a movie is writing the story. And I can see why he'd want to take a break. He helped write Star Wars 7, The Force Awakens. He had input on Star Wars 8 with Rian Johnson. And I think that the reason he wanted to do the Han Solo film is because he wrote a lot of the Han Solo stuff in the original trilogy. And he said, this is going to be a fun one. I can do it right. But now he's saying, that's it, guys. I'm going to be done writing. Now, I don't know if he'll be done forever, but he's going to be done for a while because he wants to focus on directing. Now, Lawrence Kasdan, thank you so much for all the stories you've given us, and I'm looking forward to the new Han Solo movie. Now we get into Rogue One news. So another big, huge spoiler this week is that a book with some illustrations and characters from Rogue One with their character descriptions was released. Now, again, you can find this on StarWarsNews.net, and it's got each of the characters, who they are, and it's a pretty big plot reveal because, for example, Mads Mikkelsen, we didn't know exactly what he was going to be doing. He was the father of Jinner, so he had revealed that, but that was all we really knew. Now in this, you can read up and see where each character is. Are they with the Rebels? Are they working for the Empire? It's all there. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but the one thing that I am going to say is we now have definite confirmation that Darth Vader is in Rogue One. Now, I had reported that we already had James Earl Jones doing the voice for it, which, again, didn't mean that Darth Vader 100% was sure. I also had reported that we knew who the actor was inside the uniform, but now we have confirmation from Disney that Darth Vader is in Rogue One. So this is, again, super exciting, and I think you're going to see him in the trailer they drop in July at Star Wars Celebration. So let's go into now. If you're like me, you probably ordered the 3 comic book series for Rogue One. It was scheduled to come out in the fall, a couple months before Rogue One the movie hits the theaters, and they've canceled it. So they sent me an email saying that I was getting a refund because I had already pre-ordered it and prepaid for it, and they said we don't know when it's going to be coming out, if it's coming out at all. This lends some speculation to why would they cancel this comic. And the only thing that I can think of is that they didn't want to give us too much of the pre-story of Rogue One the movie until we see Rogue One the movie. Then, because they would have had to reveal some of the characters, they would have had to reveal maybe a few things in plot lines, and I think it's better to see the movie and then release the comic book. So that's what I think they're going to do. The other thing that it could be is they might have had to do some rewrites on Rogue One, and the comic book that they were going to release, now they would have to rewrite the whole comic book to make sure that they mesh up. So it could be many things why they canceled the comic, but I don't mind waiting until after the movie comes out in order to get the comic book. My next story is that I'm very sad that the Darth Vader comic is ending. So I've been reading the Darth Vader comic, and it was scheduled to end after episode 25, or, issue 25. So it is ending. They are going to end the story. And I think the reason they're probably going to do this is because I think we're going to get a couple of Darth Vader movies, standalone movies, down the pipeline after some of these movies come out. And they were releasing a lot of cool details in the Darth Vader comic. With the exception of 3 comics in the whole series so far, it's been an amazing comic book. But I think what they're doing is they're saving some of these stories to make a movie or 2 about Darth Vader, which is fantastic. I mean, who wouldn't go see a Darth Vader movie? He was the best villain of all time in any movie, not just Star Wars. So if you haven't had a chance to read the Darth Vader comic, it is definitely worth a read. They're ending it in August with the last issue, issue number 25. Now we're going to talk about Star Wars Alert. So if you go look up Star Wars Alert, they put up a video of an interview with editor Marianne Brandon, who had the following to say. So she said a lot of things in this video, and again, you can go to Star Wars Alert and watch the video yourself, but I picked out a couple of things that I thought were really cool in this interview that she had let out of the bag. So the first one is that Kylo Ren, they had originally unmasked him a lot sooner in Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, they'd digitally put in a mask where he was unmasked, and that's actually what they used in the movie for Star Wars The Force Awakens. So when you see him in the first part of the movie, now I'm going to look a little closer when I rewatch the movie again to see if I can tell where they digitally put in his mask. The reason that they did that was because they said it made him too vulnerable at the beginning, and they wanted him to seem more harsh, so that when he finally had the scene later on in the movie with him talking to his grandfather's mask, Darth Vader's mask, that they didn't reveal his going back and forth between the light side and the dark side. That, to me, makes sense, because I wanted him to be the bad guy, and then you see the vulnerability, and what that did was that made it even better when he killed Han Solo. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Force Awakens, but Han Solo dies in it. And this is really cool, because if they would have taken off his mask sooner, I think it was supposed to be actually in the first Snoke when he's talking to Snoke, and that's where they digitally put the mask on him. So just a cool little piece of Star Wars trivia. And also she revealed that she had had a meeting with George Lucas about doing some of the editing for Star Wars, and she was asking about the character Obi-Wan Kenobi. And she thought that Obi-Wan was super strong with the Force, but George Lucas says, no, Obi-Wan's just medium Force user, like Anakin's way up here, Obi-Wan's in the middle, and maybe Maz Kanata just kind of knows the Force, but we don't even know that yet. That's not canon. But she said Obi-Wan Kenobi was right in the middle, so not a huge Force user, but, very strong Jedi because of his training and his lightsaber techniques and all of that other stuff. But I guess you don't really need to be a very strong Force user like Anakin or Luke are in order to be a great Jedi, because we know Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of the greatest Jedi of all time. So that is it for Star Wars news today. Now we get into sci-fi movie news, and the first story is X-Men Apocalypse is less than a week away. And I got to go to an early screening of it last night. And I want to tell you that if you've been reading what the critics are saying, they're saying that, it's okay. There's a lot of different things that they're not liking about this movie, and I'm not going to tell you anything about the movie. I will do a non-spoilers review this week that'll go up probably on Wednesday or Thursday, and then I'll do a spoilers review sometime next week after the movie's out in the theaters. But I enjoyed this movie because I went in with very low expectations. I'm not a huge X-Men fan. I've watched most of the X-Men movies and the Wolverine movies, but it's never resonated with me as one of the great film franchises. X-Men First Class and Wolverine Origins, where he's in the nuclear war, those are probably my two favorite X-Men movies. But this one, I was pleasantly surprised. I would give it a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. I'm not sure yet. I always like to see movies a couple times, and I'll give you my rating when I do my non-spoiler and spoiler reviews. But I went into this movie very low expectations, came out of this movie very well entertained. So, you know what? The critics sit there and they really look for things to pick apart movies, and I didn't. Again, it wasn't a 10 or a 9. But it was a 6.5 or a 7. Totally worth your money to go see this movie. And the one thing I am going to say is Jennifer Lawrence, I think she didn't have her heart in this movie. It seemed like she was writing it in the whole time. But I'll let you judge for yourself, because I'm not going to tell you where to watch or what to look for. Just, I didn't quite think that she was on par with acting, and she's a great actress. She's one of the best actresses in Hollywood right now, but it looked like she kind of wrote this one in. Now, our next story is Marvel has finally announced that Thor Ragnarok will be coming out in November of 2017. They've also announced the cast, and returning, as we knew already, was Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Tom Hiddleston is returning as well as Loki. Mark Ruffalo is going to be in it playing the Hulk. Kate Blanchett as Hela, the bad girl. Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, and Tessa Thompson was the love interest in Creed for Creed's son. And then you get into Carl Urban as Scourge. So Anthony Hopkins is also going to be in it. He's playing Odin. And the one person that I noticed was missing from this, though, is Natalie Portman. And we had already heard rumors that she wasn't going to be in it. The talks weren't going well, and she didn't want to do just a tiny little cameo. Because most of this movie, they're saying, isn't going to take place on Earth. It's going to take place in the different realms. So it didn't really make sense to put Natalie Portman in this movie a lot. And I think what had happened is they had said, well, we'd really like you to be in the beginning or somewhere at the end. And she said, no, you know what, I think I'm going to pass on this, which is fine. I don't think she's needed for the story. I love Natalie Portman as an actress, but her not being in this movie isn't going to make or break it. So then we go to sci-fi moviepage.com, revealed that Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment have released the official box art, trailer, and Blu-ray details for the upcoming anticipated animated show, Batman the Killing Joke. I read the comic. It's not a comic, but it's a thick story, like a comic. And it was a great story. And now I'm so excited about this coming out as a direct release to DVD. They're saying it's going to be released August 2nd, 2016. But I think you're going to be able to buy it earlier at Comic-Con in July. They're hinting that it's going to be available for purchase at Comic-Con, but the rest of us who aren't going to Comic-Con, we have to wait until August 2nd to get it. Now, I am super excited about seeing this, because it is a very dark story. And go watch the trailer. When I watched the trailer, I got even more excited, because it's a great trailer, it's a great story, and the premise of the story is that the Joker tries to tell everyone that insanity is just one bad day away. So if you have a really, really crappy day, you could become insane too. And that's the whole premise of the plot, where he's showing different people how just one bad day and you can be insane too. Looking forward to this a lot. So my next story is, it has been 5 months since the first trailer of Star Trek Beyond. And as I said in one of my weekly shows previous, I wasn't too enthused about the first trailer, and I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I have been since I was a little kid. And to see this trailer, I was unenthused. I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to go see the movie, but I don't need to see it opening night. Well, they just released the second trailer for this movie, and I am super excited now. This is the kind of trailer I want from Star Trek. It had action. It had great character interaction. It had a plot line. They didn't give away too many spoilers, if any, and they really piqued my interest. Like, there was great chemistry between Spock and Bones, which, you know, you get your little arguments. There was humor in it, where they showed one of the aliens sit in the captain's chair, and he's like, and Scotty goes, he really likes that chair. It was just so funny. You got to go watch this trailer, and if you're a huge Star Trek fan, I think you're going to agree with me that now I'm super excited. I got to see it opening night, and really looking forward to this. So that's it for sci-fi movie news, and the final thing that I want to do is Mike's Pick of the Week, and what I'd like you to watch this week is WALL-E. So it is a fantastic movie. It's about this little robot who's on Earth, and he's cleaning up all this garbage, and that's how the movie opens. I'm not going to give away any spoilers in case you haven't seen it, but WALL-E, it's done by Pixar, and it is just a classic movie, and there's hardly any speaking in this movie at all until the end. It's just a story created by Robot, and the environment that has been left on the planet Earth in the future. So go out and catch that movie. I watched it just last night and I loved it. And like I said, I always try to watch an old movie on a Saturday, just sit back, relax, and WALL-E is the one that I did this week, so I wanted to tell you about it. So thank you for watching weekly show number 8. I'm the Sci-Fi Movie Guy. My name is Mike, and if you want to send me an email, I will read all emails on the air. My email address is movieguySci-fi@gmail.com, and also you can follow me on Twitter @movieguySci-fi. And remember, everybody, nerds rule the world.